Rabbi Yitzchak had said that scattered means 1 kav and 4 amos. Remember that? 1 kav and 4 amos. That's the 1 kav, one measure of kav in the distance in a area of 4 amos, and that is considered scattered. Now, as we mentioned then earlier on in the Gemara had said, at least simple understanding of the Gemara was that was not referring to our Mishnah. If you remember the Gemara before, that was not referring to our Mishnah. Our Mishnah, when it says that if you find produce which is scattered, you may keep it, that was not dependent on 1 kav and 4 amos. That was not dependent on that. That was not what Rabbi Yitzchak was referring to. Our Mishnah was dependent on derech nefila or derech hinuach. Did it fall down? Does it look like it fell down and therefore it was lost? Or does it look like it was placed there and somehow got a little disheveled? But it looks like it was placed there. Of course, if it was placed there, you're not allowed to touch it. If it was lost and it looks like it dropped, so then derech nefila, then you're allowed to take it because it has no siman. So where was the magic number of kav B'arba Amos relevant? So if you remember, the Gemara had said that that's only relevant by machnashta deveidori, which is the threshing floor. If you remember that we were discussing the threshing floor, and that means that a person, you had like some sort of public threshing floor that was used by various clients. The farmers used to come and thresh their produce there. And when one farmer was finished, the next farmer would come in and use the same threshing floor. When farmer A left, there was some leftovers. And the issue was, well, is he mafkir them? Did he just leave because he just didn't feel like picking that up because it's not worth it? Too little for too much effort, too little gain for too much effort? Or do I say, oh, well, maybe he had to leave early, maybe whatever reason, and he's planning on coming back and picking it up, in which case I cannot take it. So that was the issue. So then Rabbi Yitzchak said, here's where your magic number is, and that is kav B'arba Amos, 1 kav and 4 amos. If you have that amount of produce, 1 kav, in 4 amos, it's square, so then that's already considered too little for too much effort, right? And he will not come back. You can presume that at that point he is mafkarit. If it was more densely packed than that, then you have to assume that maybe the guy might come back for it. There it's already might be worth his while. Maybe he did not just abandon it, but rather he intends on taking it back. And you cannot touch it. That's where Rabbi Yitzchak was talking about. Good? Remember, that was the Gemara. Rabbi Yirmiyah wanted to know, Rabbi Yirmiyah in a somewhat typical thing that Rabbi Yirmiyah is the lamdan, he like nitpicks on everything, wants to know exactly what's going on. So he says like this. He asked the question, if you remember in part 2, he asked the question, okay, what about a half of a kav in 2 amos? And the simple understanding of that is, like I said, that was a somewhat of a question in the Rishonim, but the simple understanding of the Gemara means a half of the volume in half of the space. So when it says a half of a kav in 2 amos, it means not 2 by 2, but 2 by 4, which is half of 4 by 4. Yes?
I would think even though it's equal, it's less space, so that would mean less effort.
Oh, okay. That is exactly what the Gemara talks about. Exactly. So the Gemara says the way that simple understanding of this Gemara, which is the way I'm going to say it over now, is like this. It says, Kav and B'arba Amos, we said that the person is mafkarit. It's too much effort for too little gain. But what's the main thing? Is it too much effort or is it too little gain? If B'arba Amos has too much effort for too little gain. But what's the main one? As Rabbi Yirmiyah says, and it makes a difference. Let's say, for example, that it's a half a kav in 2 amas. Well, if the reason by kav b'arba amos is because that it's too much effort, so exactly what Menashe just finished saying, well, if it's only 2 amas, it's only half the space, that's not so much effort. In which case, maybe you would not be mafkarit. Or do I say, the main aspect of kav b'arba amos is not enough value. If that's the main point, well, a half a kav is not going to have much value. And therefore, it's going to be that he is mafkarit. Okay, so in other words, as we pointed out, the question that Rabbi Yirmiyah is posing is as follows. I know that by kav b'arba amos it has both. It has too much effort and too little gain. But the question is going to be, at least according to this explanation in the Rishonim, the question is going to be, which is the main one? Is it the too much effort or is it the too little gain? If it's the too much effort, so then if I'm only a half a kav in 2 amas, then maybe that's not that much effort. Therefore, I wouldn't be mafkarit. He would come back for that. Or do I say, no, the main point is the too little gain. If it's too little gain, so then half a kav in 2 amas, he would be mafkarit because it's, again, too little to gain. It's not worth the effort. That was one question that Rabbi Yirmiyah posed. Then the next question that Rabbi Yirmiyah posed was sort of the mirror opposite, but it was the same shayla, but just sort of in reverse. What happens if it's twice the kav, 2 kavim, but in twice the space, in shmona amos? And again, I'm assuming shmona amos does not mean 8 by 8, it means 8 by 4, so it's double the space. Double the produce, double the space. Okay, so the ratios are the same. But the question is, okay, here's the shaila Rabbi Yirmiyah poses. If the main reason by kav b'arba amos is because it's too much effort, if that's the main reason, well, if you're going to have twice the size, twice the area, that's certainly a lot more effort, right? Therefore, he'd be mafkarit. Or do I say that the main reason is the kav and 4 amos is because it's not enough value? Well, if it's 2 kav already, that's already something to talk about. That's already a significant volume. And maybe he wouldn't be mafkarit. So Rav Yirmiyah is posing that I need to know exactly which one is it. Is the main reason the lack of value or the main reason is the too much effort? And it makes differences even if you have the same ratios, but it may change depending on which side you take. Right? That's what the way Rabbi Yirmiyah is learning. Okay. So far, those were the 2 questions that Rabbi Yirmiyah posed, and we have not yet gotten an answer to those questions yet.